Mr. Garvin, would you give our invitation?
Yes. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful fall day. We thank you for the warm sunshine. We ask now that your divine spirit lead us as we make a decision for our people. Be with our loved ones, especially our military people. Pray you bring them home safely. Be with our candidates for office. We pray that the best man would win. In Jesus' name I pray.
Roll call, please.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Sarah Helen Watts. Bill England.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzer.
Here.
Julia Coates.
Here.
Bradley Cobb.
Calling.
Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Jody Fishinghawk. Here. Meredith Fraley. Janelle Fulbright. Here. John Garvin. Chuck Huskin Jr.
Here.
China Glory Jordan.
Present.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Self.
Here.
David Thornton. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. Next, we have the approval of the minutes. We have the regular session of September 25th, the Cherokee Subcommittee of September 15th, and the budget hearings of September 10th and 12th. And I entertain a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded. Are there any additions or corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have our reports. First is the financial report from our treasurer, Ms. Ketchum.
Good afternoon. Good to see everyone. You have my written report, and if anybody has questions on that, I'd be happy to try to answer it. With the indulgence of the chair, I would like to request that the agenda be amended to discuss an opportunity that has come to us regarding our 2006 healthcare bonds. The underwriter contacted me, and we have an opportunity.
Okay. Motion made and seconded that we amend the agenda for the buyback agreement on the bonds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We will add that item for the agenda.
Okay, so we will discuss it at the end of the agenda. If you don't mind, I have some information here that I would like to pass out to the council members in preparation of the discussion.
Actually, if you prefer, we can go ahead and do that now.
Oh, okay. Grab my copy.
Without objection from the committee.
What we have is one of the institutional investors who purchased our bonds. Because the insurer of our bonds had a credit rating reduction, it has fallen outside of their investment policy. So they need to sell the bonds. They're being offered to us at a significant discount. We would have an immediate savings of $189,000 on the bonds. My idea is that...
Where are we going to get the money to buy this with?
That's item number 2.
Okay.
We have a long-term education reserve in our motor fuels tax funds. As of the end of September, that was a little over $20 million. It's earning about 2% and dropping with our interest rates. The funds are restricted through 2017. We cannot expend the funds, but we are allowed to invest them to earn interest.
Second.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Apparently Todd is.
No.
Have an M&M, Doc.
With permission of the chairman.
Yes.
Now, this is not extending that education fund.
No,
It is an investment.
it is an investment. But I do want to make clear everything that's involved here, because it does get a little bit dicey. It's investing the motor fuels tax. But because we cannot own our own tax-exempt bonds, What we need to do is a resolution that Doug and I need to draft, which council would need to approve at the full meeting, that authorizes basically the cancellation of 3365 of the Series 2006 healthcare bonds, and they are replaced by a note payable to the motor fuel tax reserve account, and the debt service would be the same, everything would be equal. We would just immediately save the $189,000, and we would be paying ourselves interest.
Okay. Mr. Evans?
I just had a comment that in the economy the way it is today, with interest rates continuing to drop, and yesterday it dropped another half point down to 1, typically bond values go in opposite direction of interest rate movements. And with this interest rate that we're at now, these bonds should have been offered at a premium, and instead they're being offered at a discount, which is a huge opportunity for double savings to the nation, with not just the decrease of debt below its par value. In other words, we borrowed $3.3 million from someone, and now we're only paying them back 3.1. So we have that gain right off the get-go, as well as the interest rate savings for the years, as long as the life of to maturity. So we have a really good opportunity here to take advantage of it.
Mr. Baker?
Now, if we're going to cancel them out, does that mean that we can't sell the tax credits that are attached with these bonds?
No, we could not.
That's correct.
That's correct. It requires that we are actually canceling that much of the $30 million bond issue that we did 2 years ago.
Mr. Evans?
You're referring to the tax credits associated to the papers that we would acquire back from the current holder, which, although that would be of value, that could possibly offset that almost $200,000 gain. It would be something that would have to be, there would be costs incurred with placing that out and selling it as well. But it's a good point to bring up.
Mr. Garvin?
I'm curious to who's losing the $200,000.
The current owner of the bonds.
Who's that?
I don't have the firm's name yet. Until I have approval to move forward with this is just verbal discussions with the underwriter.
Mr. Thornton?
Will this $189,000 along with interest be paid back into the education fund?
Well, basically, the education fund would only have to pay $3.1 million to purchase $3.3 million of notes. So, yeah, short answer is yes. The note receivable would be set up for the par value of the bonds.
Has that act been read and made sure that this can be done with that funding?
That, you mean as in terms of the motor fuels tax?
In terms of the act itself?
This is just an investment. We're allowed to invest those funds. The pool of funds I'm talking about is the 25% that we set aside.
I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I think what he's referring to is, are there any prohibitions in the memorandum of the debt issuance that would preclude us from buying back our own debt in this situation? Is that what you're talking about?
Is there anything in that act that prohibits us from going in and taking that funding out of that fund
Oh, the Motor Fuel Tax Trust Act.
and investing in fire? If there's nothing that prohibits you from doing it, why are you here?
Oh, okay. What prohibits me on this particular example is we have an overarching investment policy that I'm only allowed to invest in instruments up to 5 years. Anything that goes beyond 5 years, I have to come to the Executive and Finance Committee and get approval.
And these would be 7,
8 years.
Mr. Baker?
But in that memorandum, it's going to be in the form of an act that we really have to pay the interest back, and
Yes.
I mean it's a real deal.
a formal promissory note
Formal promissory note
between.
the Cherokee Nation and the
I don't know if it'd be a note. I don't know if we can.
Yeah, I
promise
mean,
ourselves,
basically, we have to say, or we don't have to, but my thought is the debt service would continue on out of the health care revenues the way we have it right now. And the piece that belongs to this, should we buy it with motor fuels tax, would go right back into the motor fuel tax reserve.
And I posed the exact same question to Kelly this morning.
Yeah.
How, are we going to be insured as a nation here? How do we give ourselves documentary evidence and insurance that if for someday, 7 years from now, some of us may or may not still be here, that the full amount of the principal does go back into the vehicle or the fuel tax fund, not 3-1, the price to pay, the 3-3, the value of the bonds, along with accumulated interest until 2016.
And that's what we need to put into this resolution or act that we draft. Yeah, and that's...
You know, talk about the relieving part, the 10 to 12 days it'll take to get
Right,
that done.
right. What will happen is, and the reason this is a bit of a rush, obviously the market is very volatile right now. If we want to move on this opportunity, I need to let our underwriter know today or tomorrow. Then we would actually buy the bonds within 3 business days. But then we would have approximately 10 days before we have to go through the process of canceling those bonds, which gives us time to get this act in place to be approved at the November 10th council meeting. I want to take advantage of the opportunity, but I want to make sure that we do it all right according to our internal laws and processes.
Are there any further questions? Okay. Thank you. Anything further on your report?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Cherokee Nation Enterprises, Mr. Stewart.
Hello, everyone. We ended up the year at about 118 million, which is about 6 or 7% above last year, so very good results. I'm going to turn it over to Guy Wolcott as the CFO to start getting more involved in reporting our results, so he'll kind of take over in a minute. But we're going to open November 10th, West Siloam, so everybody is very busy out there, and I would encourage you, if you want to get a run through there, I think you would enjoy it. It's going to be just an incredible facility. So pushing to open on the 10th. And I think there'll be some openings of the like the fine dining and all those things will be in the next 3 or 4 days as we go phase that opening. We're going to open up the casino on the 10th. Catoosa is still scheduled for the 15th of December, the casino portion, with the other parts following in February and April. So the whole company is wound pretty tight, getting all that done. But I'm seeing lots of teamwork. And opening 2 facilities of this size within a 30, 40, 5-day period is quite an accomplishment. So, but the company is just doing a great job. Going into this coming 6 months, we're going to be very conservative with our hiring and our expenses. Just being conservative, knowing that the economy, I feel like we're going to hit some softening of our numbers. I mean, I don't think there's any getting around that, although it's been pretty strong up till now. So we're paying a lot of attention at the management level, making sure that we don't overhire, making sure that we're conservative, so that when we do see it break, and we can go back into a little more aggressive position. So if there are any questions about the property or opening, I'd be glad to answer those. And then I'll turn it over to Guy to talk a little more about financial results.
Any questions, Mr. Stewart?
Yes.
How many turkeys joined up hired up at your facility?
I don't know the numbers. They're continuing to hire. I think we hired a total of 250, and I know our percentages are higher than our existing percentage, so we're maintaining, I think, our 60% Cherokee, 70% native percentages. And I don't know how far we've gone over that. But Brent indicated that we're doing very well on those, on that hiring. So I'll find out exactly and let you know what those are.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Stewart? Okay.
Okay, guys, you want to?
Yeah.
Good afternoon, committee. As David alluded, the month of September wrapped up our fiscal year 08. We had a positive year, as David mentioned, about 7% increase in net income over fiscal year 07. Revenue increase year over year was about 5.5%. So we actually, in effect, improved our net income margin year over year. Despite the positive year, September, the month of September, ended slightly softer than we anticipated. Really the first month of this fiscal year that we've seen some slippage year over year, September 08 over 07. The total gross revenues were down about $800,000 over the prior year, September. Net income looks to come in about 7.1, unaudited until we complete our external financial audit with BKD during the month of November. October appears to be kind of shaping up similar fashion, similar trending to September. Despite September's revenue being slightly behind the prior year, some of that we explained through two of the Labor Day weekends. This year in 08 actually fell in August, which is why our August 08 looked very strong year over year. And also there was one more weekend day in the prior year's September versus this year's September. So some of that $800,000 slippage we attribute to those two calendaring type of anomalies. So we've got the budget obviously set for next year, and as David said, we're going to take every effort to engage in cost containment and really taking a close look at the new hires for these two expansions that we have. To date, all of the construction costs are being financed through cash flow. We project that we will not begin to tap the credit facility until sometime by the end of this calendar year. So at this point we have not, but we do project by the end of this year we will begin to draw upon the credit line and probably reach our peak leverage sometime next June, and then begin to pay that back down. So, unless there's any questions?
Any questions, Mr. Wilcox? Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Next is Cherokee Nation Industries.
Hi, I'm Bob DeVosta from CNI, CFO. I believe you all have our report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have regarding that information.
Are there any questions? Yes, Ms. Jordan.
Well, am I reading this statement right? Are you losing what is $3,700,000?
That's for the year, yes, that's correct.
If you're losing that much, what are you trying to make it up? I guess that's sort of kind of an obvious question, but do you expect a better year this year?
Yes, budget for this year is a profit of $1,184,000.
What did you budget last year was going to happen?
Last year budget was, let's see if I have that here. Last year budget was roughly about $2 million.
That you would make or lose?
That's correct.
That you would make?
Yes. We had some year-end adjustments that roughly $1.5 million that's included in these results that will not replicate next year. So we're looking forward to a lot better year.
Are there any other questions? Okay. We'll look forward to a good year this year.
Thank you. So do I.
Okay. Cherokee Nation Businesses.
Good afternoon. Bob Huffman standing in for Brad, and I'm lucky to get to report some very good news. CNB was recently granted $60 million of new market tax credits by the U.S. Treasury, which I understand is the largest grant in Oklahoma and the only grant to go to a tribe or tribal entity. And those funds will be used to provide low-cost financing for businesses in northeastern Oklahoma. So Brad and his team did a fantastic job, and we look forward to hopefully getting more in the future.
Are there any questions of Mr. Huff?
Actually, be ready to start putting them out when?
I know the phone is ringing off the wall, so I assume that we will get those out fairly soon.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Career Services, Diane Kelly's at Vendor Fair in Catoosa, but Kim Carroll, I believe, the Johns is going to be here. Okay.
Diane, good afternoon. Diane couldn't be here today. You guys have the report that she sent over. Do you have any questions?
Are there any questions of John on Diane's report? Yes. Ms. Jordan.
This doesn't really have to pertain to yours, but on Diane's part, I want to thank her and her department for what they did at our community meeting. It was very successful, and she was one of they provided us a lot of little extra things, and I certainly appreciate it. And I hope you'll convey that to us.
Oh, well, that was a big turnout over there. I do have questions. Are there any questions on the new Taro report that you guys were sent over for the certifications?
Any questions that was handed out earlier today, the Taro report?
Is it a little easier to follow? I guess that's my question to you.
Yes, it is. I appreciate that, John.
Thank you.
Commerce, and tonight, Shay Smith.
Yes, I'm sorry, Ann and I isn't available this afternoon. I'm Shay Smith, and you should have a copy of the Commerce report in front of you, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions for Shay? Yes, Ms. Jordan.
I think Anna was going to try to keep giving us continuing report on any bad debt write-off.
Oh, okay.
Would you be able to maybe follow up on that?
I will. I don't have that information with me, but we can send a report to...
I certainly appreciate it. If you send it in report form, maybe everyone might be interested in it on their BlackBerry, and then maybe if it could be incorporated into your ongoing report.
We will do
I
that.
certainly appreciate it.
Anything else?
Any other questions for Shay? Thank you. Next is the Cherokee National Historical Society, Mr. Kelly.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Just want to hit some of the highlights of the things been going on at the Heritage Center. Looking real good with the visitor numbers, or people served. I sent my report sort of late. Do y'all have a copy of it in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, good. But just want to point out that number that in 2008 so far, we're on a January calendar year, so January through September, we had served 37,000 people, and that's up 50% from where we were in 2006. So it's a combination of things. The new outreach program has enabled us to do a lot, and then group tours are up significantly. So definitely want to call your attention to that. And I think it's been about 3 years now since the MOA went into effect, so I think we're starting to see some really positive returns from that partnership with the nation and CNE. So real pleased with the numbers there. Just membership's up, combined service income is up. We're working on some capital improvements or capital projects over at the Heritage Center. If any of y'all have been by there recently, you know it's sort of a little bit awkward to get in. It's a temporary inconvenience, but we're going to have the atrium completed here in the next couple of weeks. A brand-new atrium, brand-new look that opens up that atrium, makes it more useful space. The restrooms will be redone to be ADA compliant and also much nicer. So I think you'll see a difference if you visit the Heritage Center. Well, if you visit now, you'll see the construction, but if you visit in a few weeks, you'll see the completed project. Great compliment for the work that was done earlier this year in the retail store. The big thing that we still need to work on that I think is the most immediate pressing need is the ancient village. The structures really need addressing. We've been working on a plan for it. We have the plan of the new structures completed. We're working on landscaping now, and also we're waiting some funding for that. So that's going on. And then we're looking at the overall long-term master plan, which will include a multi-purpose facility that would house the archives, collections, a library space, public space. So we've been working with the Henley Company to work on a master plan there. Just one final thing that I want to mention, you can look at the rest of the report, but just do want to encourage all of y'all to come out Saturday, if you can, to see the beadwork exhibit. It's something unique to the Heritage Center or to anywhere that we've been able to bring these examples of Cherokee beadwork from all over the country, and including 6 pieces from Scotland that we have in that haven't been back in the country for close to 200 years. And that beadwork exhibit is up through April, but we're having a special reception to honor our guest curator, Martha Berry, and to show off the exhibit on Saturday. So Saturday from 2 to 4, if any of y'all can make it. So I want to encourage y'all to be there. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I wanted to clarify that because it says from 12 to 2 in the report, so the correct time is from 2 to 4.
And that was probably
That's
me
what I
getting in a
understood
hurry.
as well, yeah.
If all of y'all can make that correction, it should be 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So I apologize for that. But if y'all come early, I'll let y'all see the exhibit anyway. So, are there any more questions?
Actually, you have a nice catalog that we might appreciate a copy of.
I apologize. I did mean to bring y'all a copy of the catalog today, but when you come, I'll make sure that each of you get it, and even if you don't come, I might make sure you can get a copy of it. So I apologize for not bringing that with me today.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for Mr. Kelly? Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Next, our consent items are the tarot certifications, and you do have the new report.
Move to accept as.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Cemetery restoration assistance applications, were there any of those this month?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's 6 was in your packet, and there's 1 additional. Welch Cemetery, District 1. Little Deer Cemetery, District 2. Keener Cemetery, District 1. Sycamore Springs, District 5. 2 in District 9, Hickory Creek and Timber Hill. And additional 1 that was not in your packet, District 1, Agent Cemetery.
That's all part of the budget mod.
Yeah, it'd be right after. Yeah, yes, it would be a part of that budget mod document at the back end of it. Keep going. A few more pages back.
Yellow and blue.
Yeah, 1 more page. Next page.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it.
Do I hear a motion for their approval?
Move to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next are the law enforcement requests, which we do not have any this month.
No request this month, sir.
Okay. Next is community assistance. Mr. Baker.
Mr. Chairman, I'm busy with a few and didn't have time to get with everybody, but we have a request from the Cherokee Basket Weavers Association who claim to have members in all 14 counties, as well as New Mexico, California, and Florida. They are taking an exhibition and going to the Washington, D.C. to the Smithsonian of the American Indian, and maybe not officially representing the tribe, but representing Cherokee Baskets. So the Basket Weavers Association. They've got a great mission statement, and really good goals of teaching young people and coming to communities and having seminars and things like that. They're requesting $4,000, and after visiting with several council people, we were hoping to ask that out of community assistance, that as many as possible could give like $250 a person. So far, I've gotten commitments from Dr. Cobb, Fishing Hawk, Jordan, Baker, Hoskin, Buzzard, Fraley, and Coates. Would anybody else be interested in participating?
A question, Mr.
Question,
Chair.
yes. Ms. Watts.
Have they applied for a community works grant?
Community Works Grant. I have no earthly idea.
No, probably not.
Okay, all my money, even though I haven't allocated it yet formally in committee, all of my money has already been committed to in my community.
Okay. Anybody else? Chris Owens?
Mr. Baker?
Yes.
We run down that name list.
Yeah, well, just one second. Let's, Mr. Crittenden?
Sir?
Would you do that? 250.
Yeah.
Okay. Janelle? Not here. And Mr. Garvin? He's not here.
Oh, hold on, Janelle, I'm supposed to go get her. I forgot all about it.
Okay.
We were talking community assistance.
Who's it going to?
It's the Cherokee Basket Weavers Association.
Where are they?
They've got members all over the 14 counties as well as outside the 14 counties. Thank you. Right now we have Cobb, Garvin, Fishing Hawk, Jordan, everybody except.
Janelle said if she wants to add to it, she'll be in here in a minute.
Okay. Apparently it's everybody except Councilor Watts. Okay. Oh, no, England. I'm sorry. I don't.
The only thing I'd like to know is I'd like to see a list of who all is, because I want to know if they're...
I know that there's one of the board members is from Sperry, sir. Rosemarie Thielander from Sperry.
She Cherokee?
Says that her roll number, let's see. Let me look here in a second. I don't want to miss. Secretary and Counselor from Sperry. Cherokee, no, I've got a roll number.
I'll do it as long as there's truly somebody from my area.
Ms. Coates.
This is an organization, I think that when the Truth in Advertising Act was being discussed, was an organization that was very supportive of that legislation, as I understand it, or at least a number of the members were. So I think that is not a real concern with this particular population.
They do have one member that is not Cherokee. It says, non-Indian patron member. So they have somebody that helps fund it that's not a Cherokee, but all the artists and everybody have CO numbers and everything.
Yeah, but could you share that list with us?
Yeah, all I've got is the board members right now, but be glad to. All right, did Janelle say yes?
Yes.
Okay. That would be everybody except Watts at 250.
So you will add those to the list, Doug?
Yes, sir. Also added to the list from what the handout was, and there was an error in the spreadsheet when it went out to you for Sperry Alumni Association for organizational support for a table fundraiser. It went out as 10,000 and there should have been 1,000. Also, there are 7 additions to your report since it was mailed out. Food pantry, $500 each, Mr. Baker, Ms. Jordan. $1,500 each, Mr. Crittenden, Ms. Fish and Hawk for City of Stillwell for play system. $1,000, Ms. Jordan, Tinkhiller School.
That's Mr. Baker is sharing that. Oh, is that correct, Mr. Baker?
Say 500 each then, or 1,000 each?
500 each.
500 each. $1,250, Mr. Thornton, Marble City Food Pantry. And Greasy Community Organization, 500 each, Crittenden Fish and Hawk. Ms. Fulbright has 2 additions. Muldrow Cherokee Community Organization, organizational support of 1,000. And Redbird Smith Council Grounds for 1,000. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
The art show, $100 for each one of us.
Oh, yes. The Sequoia High School always puts on a art show among the students, and Todd and I have been supporting the awards that they give out there at the school, and so we did another $100 apiece to Sequoia High School dorm
Art show.
I
believe is what it's called. It's Polly.
$200?
200. 120, yeah.
Polly,
Like M-A-C.
used to be Polly Washington, I don't
Yeah.
know what her name is.
Right.
This is a Sequoia High School student activity.
Yeah.
They have a
Yeah.
they have an accounting unit in our system where they can receive these. And,
Yeah. Same as what we did last year.
okay.
Yes, Mr. Crittenden.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to add one more if I might. It's the Cherokee Children's Mission over on Hunter Highway. It's close to the Adair Cherokee line. They're having trouble with their water and gas. They've got some leaks in their lines, and they're needing some repair work done. And I'd like to give them $250 of my funding to help them with their repair work over there. And I think Jody Fish and Hawk might want to do $250 also.
And also because they're right on the border of the counties. Joe John, was you going to do 250?
Yeah.
Okay. Joe John and I were each going to do 250 apiece on that too.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'd like to say that.
$1,000 total, District 1, District 2. And what was the organization name?
Cherokee Children's Mission. And I'll have to get an address later or something.
Okay. Are there any other additions, community assistance? Then I entertain a motion for their approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next are the roads.
Okay. Roads had some amendments to it as well since the packet went out. I'll just go through all the roads is in the packet, I believe, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'll just go over the additions. In addition to what you have in front of you, Mr. Buzzard has a phase 2 of the Tino Burnett Road on motor fuels, $2,480. Mr. Baker, Mr. Jordan.
There's also the amended one that was handed out.
Oh, okay. You have the, yeah, okay. Well, you have it from them. They have a de-obligation and re-obligation from East Ross Road to the East Mural Road. And then down at the bottom in red, you see the additions for Mr. Buzzard and the special bridge funding for Burnett Road, Butler Cemetery, and Snell Cemetery. Again, the motor vehicle funds will be coming forward around January when the apportionment's done by Callie's group from the cart tag revenues. Going to be up or down?
What's that?
Tag revenue, gross revenue.
Gross revenue, I believe, is up a little bit. About 7%, I believe.
And roads are based on gross. The law enforcement is based on net.
Right.
So we may see a bump up in roads and a bump down in law enforcement funds, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Okay.
Entertain a motion for the approval of the road projects.
Make a motion to approve.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next we have old business, the district community meetings, the guidelines, which were in your packets, also handed out today.
I don't know. I can't remember.
Mr. Chairman, the guidelines are as they put forward. We made some modifications to try to accommodate everyone. Like I said, they are in general form or broad, to be interpreted broadly, but I'll entertain any questions if anyone has them.
Is there a motion on this?
No.
I would like to move to approve this, but striking item 3. And I put that in form of motion.
Do I hear a second?
It's where you got to get permission from the person if you rent a building and block out of your district.
And it's, let me, for clarification, what's in your guideline actually was not the last one that we we put forward.
But there's one that was passed out.
Oh, okay, the one that's passed out, all right.
I'm waiting to see if there's a second to his, before we open for discussion.
I'll second it,
Okay.
but I want to have discussion. We're going to have
Okay.
discussion. But I want to ask Mr. Baker for a friendly amendment to that. Is to add some language in there that says a reasonable distance out of your district lines.
That would be just hunky-dory.
Would you accept that amendment?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a reasonable distance. I mean, I'd go for shooting range.
What's caliber of rifle?
Clarification. Yours was to strike item 3, but yours is to amend item 3 and add.
Well, item 3 and add.
He wants to he asked for a friendly to substitute a line, which we can still call 3, within a reasonable distance.
Okay.
In other words, I can't go to California, but I can go a block.
Okay. Mr. Connell.
I got two things now. I always question when there's an ambiguous statement, reasonable distance. How do you determine a reasonable distance? I mean, is it...
Mr. Chairman? And I was going to suggest language, a 2-mile radius. Because, yeah, if you use it to, what is reasonable to one may not be reasonable to the other, that we need some type of a finite distance.
Would 2-mile radius be good with you? 2-mile radius.
And I do. And I also, I'm not sure if I'm stepping on the motion, but I do have another question regarding this piece of paper. I'm just curious on number 4. I'm just asking a question. Why? And I know the community meetings for at-large counselors were handled differently in the beginning and are handled differently now. But what's the basis for allowing at-large counselors to have a community meeting after January the 1st of an election year and not allow in-district counselors? Then there may be an answer. I just don't know what it is.
Let me take a crack at it first, because they have no district. It is, it is the entire
Get
world.
to the spirit of why it was originally put in for the in-district, and then let's talk about it in that spirit.
To depoliticize it. Okay. So on an election year.
You said it. Now let's go.
Yeah. If you're going to, these meetings are for informational purposes, to get things out to the community, etc. The reason to not have one January 1 of an election year is to basically not campaign on the Cherokee Nation's dime. Okay. You want to have your own hog fry for an election? Come elect me, knock yourself out. But don't. This is to prevent using these types of funds to give an unfair advantage to an incumbent during an election year. That's the purpose.
I believe that one of the reasons that was left in there for out of district is that some of the community meetings meet annually, such as the California picnics, and they're set up on an annual basis each year at that time. Am I right?
Yeah, that was mainly what it was addressing. I think was the situation of the large picnics, and that the organizations themselves would sort of be penalized that those picnics could not take place every 4th year, basically, by these guidelines.
Well, do I still have the floor?
Yes, you did.
Well, my point, I'm not opposed. I'm literally just asking a question. But if the election is, the point is what you said. So how can you not say that if you have a community meeting in California in March, I don't know when they are, but in March, even if you don't talk politics, how can you not say, I guess my point is, during an election cycle, can you not push that back until, I'm just trying to make this, and there may be a very valid argument. I'm just trying to make this fair for everybody. Go ahead. I'm finished. Thank you.
Ms. Cummings.
I will defer to Councilor Watts, but in a comment that was made outside of this meeting at another time, there was a suggestion informally made that the names of the councilors who were up for election could be left off of any materials that year that were going out for the picnics or something like that. And I think something like that would be, I don't know how you feel about it, Mr. Baker, but that would, I don't have any strong objections to something like that. So.
Ms. Roscoe.
Here's the problem that I see. You have a meeting in an election year, and maybe the at-large councilor is not up for election, but it becomes a magnet for people running for chief and deputy chief. It's impossible to isolate that meeting, I think, as Councilor Cobb suggests, from politics. And it probably is to any meeting to some extent. But, I think we're weighing here the burden on the organizations for having to not have an annual meeting on the same day versus the problem of politics. And it seems to me if we're going to use public funds, that the balance is weighed in favor of isolating that meeting from politics, so that if they want to take advantage of those public funds, then they ought to bear the burden of having the meeting after the election. It seems to me if we made it after the election, then there's absolutely, you can't reasonably say it's tainted with politics. But if you make it a magnet for people running for chief or deputy chief, then I think we open ourselves up for that kind of criticism, even if people don't intend that. I think you open yourself up for that criticism.
Well, to me? The reason why, in my opinion, and I'll go through the mental gymnastics, is that numbers 3 and 4 shouldn't apply to a council at large, is because, like number 1, they have no district. Okay, and if you say every 2 years, because we're going to have staggered elections every 2 years, so there's going to be a good amount of time that a person is not going to, that although I'm an at-large counselor elected for a 4-year term, well, halfway through my 4-year term for almost, 8 months, I'm not going to be able to have a community meeting every 2 years. And because they have no districts, because the whole world is my district. We won't be able to ever prevent someone to show up, with a T-shirt that says "Vote for, Chief Hembry," and I'm not announcing my candidacy. Or any other, or someone coming up and handing out flyers, etc. You're never going to please them. First of all, we got freedom of speech, but the public funds that used to do these meetings, the agenda or the people themselves we're trying to make it depoliticized, and that's the idea.
And I may, if I could respond, I may support this just because of the idea that it is almost impossible to make this perfect, and if we try to make it perfect, we probably won't come up with anything. But I am concerned about the scenario where there's an election year for the top offices, and not these at-large counselors, but down the road, other at-large counselors might coordinate a campaign, and it becomes public funds for a political forum for a single candidate, and there's just that danger down the road, not in this council term, thankfully, but down the road, and that's what we're making these rules for, is down the road. So I guess it's not the every election cycle I'm worried about, it's the one where the chief candidates might be seeing that as a magnet. And if we can't completely isolate it, then I understand this may be the best we can come up with.
This is my best shot at it. We could solve the problem by just deleting the phones altogether.
I would not agree with that.
Mr. Baker.
Yeah, and folks, the purpose of these is to stay in touch with your constituents, get information out, and I'll just tell you, in an election year, it says I'm going to invite the chief, but I'm not going to let him talk during his election cycle, nor am I going to let somebody that is running against him talk. And I hope Tina comes to mind, but unfortunately, she will not be introduced on that cycle, nor will anybody that's running against her. This is not for election purposes. This is not for, now, can I keep Tina from, standing by the front door or walking around talking to folks, or whoever's running against her? I can't do that. These are Cherokee meetings and places of gathering, but it is not to provide a stump for elected officials. And if I want to have one, invite candidates, then I need to pay for that one myself. And quite well will do that, or could do that. But I think we need to be very vigilant of the public money, and if we're having one, we need to do our darndest to see that it does not become a political vehicle. One, it would not bode well on the Cherokee Nation, and it would really make whoever did it look really petty. And and I'm not going for not have meetings because there's an election, because I think it's our obligation. And now that we're staggered, Todd put it well, we'd be having meetings every 2 years and no meetings, every other year if we did it that way. So I think everybody here probably understands it. I think everybody that comes after us will figure it out pretty quick that you just can't take public money and campaign or push your agenda, or you need to do it on your own money. Thank you.
Scott.
I just want to respond to several of the comments that have been made. First of all, I think there's a little bit different situation again with the at-large communities in that they get to actually see the chief or see their council representatives maybe once a year, that they can actually interact one-on-one. We can take phone calls, we can take emails, but they actually only get to see their elected officials, generally once a year at these events. And so I think that's a different situation than it is for people locally. And so to prohibit those elected officials, even though they may be regarded as incumbents in election years, right, they are nevertheless the elected representatives of those people. And that may be the one opportunity that year that they get, that the constituents actually get to see those folks. But that is a different situation than what it is here in the 14 counties. The other point I would make is that if we are talking about where the elected officials are going to go, it's going to be at meetings that are sponsored by the satellite organizations, which are officially chaptered under the Cherokee Nation by the new Cherokee Nation Community Association. They're not likely to go and be at other venues, quite frankly. And the bylaws of those organizations, as well as the overarching corporation itself, say that those groups cannot endorse any specific sort of candidate for office. And so what happened last year, or in 2003, I guess it was, or 2000, when was it? 7. What was last year? At the picnics that were being held, is that sometimes the organizations would respond by saying, we don't want anybody to talk. Right? Others said, we want everybody to be able to speak. That included incumbents and other candidates that, and so they turned it into sort of a little mini candidates forum at which everybody basically who was running could speak. So there are different ways that the organizations themselves chose to handle it last year, but over and over and over it was equitable, I would say. Either nobody spoke or everybody spoke. So I think they're very aware of it, and that they, in their own bylaws, they have these kinds of things that require a certain kind of equity there.
Dr. Collins.
Just a couple things. And correct me if I heard you wrong. My hearing is starting to go, but I'm not sure we're going to get a perfect document. I'm not sure I'm going to hold this up looking for perfection, but I did want to make a comment. I may just come from a different direction than you. I think the at-large councilors do have a district. It's just really big. And that's the way I kind of view that. I mean, it's like the whole universe. But I mean, I don't view that as they're kind of on the outside and they're just kind of an afterthought and they're everybody else. I mean, I always view the at-large councilors as they do have a constituency. It's just really big. So I just wanted to, it's neither here nor there. I just did want to make that comment.
But if I may respond to that, because they're so large, it's also we have them scattered all over the country. So we have to go to a meeting in California, Texas, New Mexico. We have an organization established in Florida. We're going to have them hopefully established all over the country. So it's going to be almost impossible for us to limit it to a small period of time in a year.
And also, if I may, Mr. Chairman, it's the same district. It's the same, it's really large. They do have a district, but they share it. So, we don't have an east-west. You can't, every 2 years you can't have it in the east after January 1 or the west in January 1. It's the same district. And so you get into that cycle where they would be limited every 2 years, on, I'm a 4-year term, and midway through my term I can't have a meeting for 8 months or more. So it works. This works real well when everyone has their own geographical district, but they share, and those people afterwards will share that geographical area.
Ms. Jordan.
Tell me again how number 3 reads with the friendly amendment. Am I reading it right? Community meetings must be held within or a reasonable distance outside the district in which the councilor is seated?
I think actually it was within the district, or within a 2-mile radius of the district.
Right.
Okay, so now it's not reasonable, it's 2 miles, right?
Correct.
So,
I mean, I don't mean that's not reasonable, but I mean now it's 2 miles.
Yeah.
And then did we strike unless consent is acquired by the host district councilor?
Yes. That's not what you will consent.
Well, I will let you come.
I know you would. That's not the point.
You just don't want to have to ask, do you? And then we didn't make any changes to anything else. Is that correct?
That's correct. Mr. Thorne?
Just right there, the way I read this, and what you were saying a while ago, that you were going to let everyone talk. The way I read this, you're not going to have a meeting after January the 1st, period.
How's that?
And I may read it wrong, number 4. Can't use these funds that shall not be held after January the 1st of the election year until said election cycle is complete. So you can't have one in that period of time, the way I read this.
No, I think what he's referring to is that his district, his election does not fall on the same term as the chief's election. So he can have a community meeting because there's not going to be an election for a counselor within his district. Unless,
In other words, if my district's not having an election, then I can go ahead and have one in 3 years. Kinda can't, but I can.
Okay, do we file in April?
February or March, I believe.
March, so that's March, April, May,
June.
June, and July. And that'd be 4 or 5 months that you couldn't have a meeting in that period of time.
Mr. Oscar?
So I need some clarification because an election year and an election cycle, that's not dependent on the district. I mean, we've got elections every 2 years. But you know, there'll be years where a chief's running and a counselor's not running. And so in Bill John's district, if he's not running the years the chief running, he can have community meetings January, February, March, April, May.
In the district in which there's no election, you're unrestricted. But if your district, let's say Cherokee East, he's up for election, all right? He can't have community meetings using public funds from January until the end of the election cycle, whenever that is. And that might be a runoff.
But if he wanted, and Bill John wouldn't do this, but if some successor down the road wanted to politic for somebody running for chief, that would be a safe haven. This would be a safe harbor in which to have a meeting in which you could effectively give the candidate of your choice a publicly funded forum, and the safe harbor would be created because you as the council member weren't running. I mean, that's how I'm reading it. Bill John wouldn't do this.
Well, and that is correct. Let me see, I thought we had put in there that this is not for. I thought we had put language in there that this is not for political purposes at all, but I guess I don't see that in there.
You're down 3.
So, well, and your statement is correct, Mr. Hoskins. I mean, you could have a political, you could have a community meeting, all right?
Okay, I understand. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Garvin?
I think this needs a lot of thought and a lot of work yet, so I'm going to make a motion we table it.
I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded to table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Because I had 2 other people up for discussion. We'll do that the next time. Sorry, Ms. Jordan and Ms. Watts.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Again, any suggestions, because I've done my best on it. Okay, any suggestions, please get them to me ahead of the meeting so we can present it in writing prior to it, like I said, or delete the whole thing.
Okay. Okay. For new business, item 1 is Native American Performing Arts Group $20,000 funding request. Councilor Buzzer.
Chair, I request that this resolution be withdraw at this time. After talking to Councilor Snell, we decided we're going to go ahead and try to help fund part of this out of the Community Service Grant Fund. I talked to the lady that sponsors those children and notified her of other programs within the Cherokee Nation that could help her fund those kids. And actually, if they'll get to work with our community youth people over in the program, people, they can almost come up with the same amount of funds. And I'm going to suggest that she goes that route. I just don't feel like it's fair for us to come in and do this because there's so many other organizations out there that need that. So I think Council Snell and I will deal with this on a district level. So I'd like to withdraw that this time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is item 2. Mr. Baker.
Mr. Chairman, at our resources meeting, they were sitting there talking about, they had the dozers, they had the backhoes, they had operators to help with these little community projects where they needed a dozer, but they didn't have a funding source to charge the fuel to. And so it was keeping them from going to some of the little community buildings and grading the road and doing this and doing that. We had pushed forward to this meeting $20,000 to put into a funding source that they could charge to for this. However, Callie's almost out of money, and she's only got $12,000 left. So at this time, I want to request that we drop that to $12,000 until our carry forward comes forward, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Yes, Ms. Ketchum.
Thank you. In the current budget mod that you're going to be looking at next, there's actually a request for a $2,000 increase in the general fund budget authority. So I just want to point that out, if it were possible to make this an even $10,000 at this time, and then when the carry forward comes forward, perhaps adjust it.
If somebody would make that in the form of a friend, I would sure say.
So much.
I'm gonna, that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Watts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I'm very concerned about us not looking at other bucket funds available to these communities, especially when we're so close on our budget. So I don't support this work. I just think there's different ways we can do it, and I won't be voting in support of this at this time. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Julie. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Roll call, please.
Jody Fishinghawk.
Aye.
Meredith Rayleigh.
Yes.
Janelle Fulbright.
Yes.
John Garvin.
No.
Chuck Hoskins Jr.
Yes.
Tina Glory Jordan.
Yes.
Curtis Snell.
Yes.
Chris Soap.
Yes.
David Thornton.
Yes.
Kara Cowan Watts.
No.
Buell Anglin.
No.
Bill John Baker.
Yes.
Jack Baker.
Yes.
Harley Buzzard.
Yes.
Julia Coates.
Yes.
Bradley Cobb.
No.
Joe Crittenden.
Yes.
Right, that's what I'm on.
We have 13 yes and 4 no.
Okay. Motion carried.
Now that's mine.
And that will be added to the budget mod. Okay. Next is we have mod 1 for year 2009. Mr. Evans.
Mr. Chairman, the grants for this year come in at almost $1.8 million, with the lion's share of that being in the Sequoia High School's education carryover DOI fund. And keep in mind that in the budget, as you recall, there was a significant amount of tribal dollars requested out of the general fund from the high school. At that time, we didn't have these carryover funds in the budget. So again, there appears to be a request for tribal dollars that comes in ahead of federal dollars. The second large component of that's an A&A grant for $458,000 on DHHS. A slight adjustment on Brownsfield grant. Saline Courthouse received is budgeting a correction in a federal other funding source, and 2 new awards of federal other for $169,000.
The mod itself has 24 budgets totaling $5.5 million. General fund is just some reallocations primarily between the health, human service groups. Deputy group leader is requesting to pull out their second in command budget that's in that succession planning item number 4 of $138,000, along with the immersion projects removing revenue of $9,000 out of their budget. Historical societies requesting $20,000 for a beadwork exhibit, and cash match for grants is reallocating for a Brownsville funded grant for the Schling Courthouse cash match. The indirect cost pool is a net increase of $68,000. Now, this particular fund, this will be the first time that we will actually see net increases or decreases in our IDC fund because of the changed budget practice that we started with FY09 of not budgeting break even. We're budgeting revenue to the fund of what all the programs are going to pay in IDC. Okay, so that's the source of funds. All the programs IDC charges, that's the source. The use is all of those support functions that's funded out of IDC, like accounting and purchasing and half the council and half the, all those items are funded at their expense. So whatever the net is, that's what the net, either funding a positive or a negative. This is a net increase of $68,000 for the Taro procurement budget. I put a note in here, the staffing increase is related to an employee number that's already budgeted elsewhere in 09. However, the other budget that this employee number appears on is not requesting a corresponding decrease, and maybe the financial resource group could look into that budget and see there should be some appropriate adjustment to that budget so we don't have one person budgeted for 2 years within this budget cycle. The other indirect cost items are related to the Hastings resource team, a portion of the HR recruiting budget, and a portion of the HR recruiting budget being reallocated to various other budgets. And you have a little schedule there where I've gone through and identified the increases, which is the Office of Attorney General for 1 full-time equivalent and associated costs, Human Services 5 FTEs, MOAs, and IPAs, Financial Resources 1, Information Systems 10, Acquisition Management 3. This is where they originally, back when they were planning the FY09 budget for the Hastings assumption, threw all those disciplines into one big budget, and now she's requesting to go ahead and reallocate those out to the specific disciplines that are associated with the support functions that we have in our budget. Items number 8 and 13 is just reallocating the human resource recruiting budget, $211,000 of it, or about half of the total recruiting budget for the Cherokee Nation, and half of that going into the health executive director's budget. And that's related to one health recruiter and a line item of $100,000 for recruitment, just recruitment. Now, I'm not really sure what that line item is. It doesn't appear, I mean, it shows up around their contract service items, but I assume it may have something to do with cost associated with signing healthcare professionals.
I was wanting to ask what the line item was. That covers several items, sending people out to different colleges to meet with potential employees. I don't believe that includes any incentives to hire the medical professionals, which of course is one of our hardest to hire.
We don't do that? We don't give them like a signing bonus for a doctor?
Not out of an IDC budget.
Okay.
Certainly not out of an IDC budget. So if there was any negotiation in terms of a doctor's contract, that would come out of the health budget.
What about a relocating expense if we had to move them here to? Would that be reasonable?
That would be reasonable. That could possibly come out of there.
Okay, the enterprise fund has an increase of a little over $500,000 with that being related to the CDFI loan pool. There's some budgets in this mod that appear somewhat confusing, but what we're doing here is, if you follow in the review memo, we're taking $517,000 of the intermediary relending program in the enterprise fund. That's prior year unobligated funds in the community development financial institution grant. They're being sent to item on the next page. They're being sent down to the federal other 2008 community development financial institution fund, and then they're getting matched. Now, the total of that, or $1,017,000, is being transferred in toto up to item number 16, which is where the enterprise fund is going to administer those loans. Could have been done a couple of different ways, but they wanted to try to get the source to a location that the proper matching funds could be matched with it, take the total up to the fund that's actually administering the loan pool. That's what item 15, 16, and 24 are all about in that review memo. DOI self-governance has a slight increase of $85,000 for a DOI grant for energy and mineral development. IHS self-governance health has a net increase of $3.5 million, and that's primarily related to requesting authority to spend the FY07 fund that was still unspent during 08, now coming into 09, and this for health equipment replacement.
Fishing pond.
Yeah, I got a question on that. How many years have they been carrying that over?
Well, at least 07, but it may go back further than that. Well, at least. These funds are a component of the compact for equipment replacement. As they spend them down, sometimes in the budget process, they'll replenish. But this particular fund didn't have any expenditures in 08. It all was a carryover out of 07. Now it's all carrying over into 09.
So this is going on the third year.
Yeah.
But we put some in general fund in there, didn't we, during budget hearings?
The budget hearings, add-ons was you put $1.5 million in contract health out of gen fund.
Is there any way, because you all talked about us being out of money, and I know during budget hearings, because Chairman Baker, we had talked about it with him about how some of the programs are spending tribal dollars first and then carrying over federal, which runs contrary to our physical policy, is what I remember being said. And this is another program that's not doing what our physical policy says they're supposed to do. And I know we're out of funds, so I'm curious. I know they have to stay in the same department. Is there any way to pull the 1.5 of gen fund money we put in there in September back now? Put it back on the table now that they're carrying over 3.5 and tell them to start spending their federal dollars before gen fund.
You mean reprogram $1.5 million out of this 3.5 into contract health and free up the tribal discretionary dollar?
It'll still stay in health by the contract.
Yes, you can. Short answer is yes, you can do that. But understand that if these dollars are going to be utilized for the Hastings property expansion efforts for equipment,
Well, that's fine, but if-
then coming later, we're going to have to probably replenish that pool for that equipment.
Okay, can we not do that and then finally do it, because we're looking at 3 years and we're probably looking at another year or two down the road.
That's a good
And that
point.
would put some money back in.
Ms. Ketchum.
You can certainly reprogram, but it would prevent them right now from going out and committing any of those dollars into contracts for this equipment. And I do know that the Hastings project does have a lot of equipment needs, and I really don't think that we're going to see this money go unspent in 09.
But when that time comes, you can come back to us when you bring more money forward during the year.
No, well, what I'm saying though is they can't commit that money and they can't go out and buy the equipment until that time.
They'll only have 2 million instead of 3.5.
Right, and I don't know what that does to their equipment needs, but I do know that when we went through the process of identifying the needs at Hastings, it was going to be difficult to meet the needs with this amount of money that we had identified.
I might add one other thing. In setting in all those negotiation meetings with IHS, there were several projects that were identified, Ms. Fishenhoff, that weren't going to be in a new building. They were upgrades to the existing facility that wouldn't require a delay for expenditure until a new facility was constructed. Some of these things, some of the chiller stuff.
Right.
I mean, there were several projects on the list that I assume should be, doesn't have anything to do with building a new building. I mean, they need to be starting those pretty quick. I don't know what the extent of the cost is and how it relates to $3.5 million of 3-year-old money, but it's just something to, an item of information.
Mr. Baker.
Kelly, before we go to reprogramming, how long will you think we're ready for some?
I should have a pretty good estimate by the end of November. We're starting the closing process for September tomorrow. So
For the next budget.
I should have a reasonable estimate by I may not have it in the mod that comes over because our deadline is 10 days before the meeting, but at the meeting, I should at least have a pretty good estimate of where we're going to end up, which is, I think our meeting is November 20th now.
But we also meet early in December.
Yeah, real early in December.
Right. So.
So, okay, Jody, Jody, question?
Yeah, I'd like for you to do something that finds out how many programs we got out there that is running contrary to our fiscal policy, that's spending tribal dollars before federal dollars.
Well,
Can you run that
Yeah.
list and see?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in the budget hearings extensively, and there's a couple of them that's in here. I mean, this one right here is one of them, and the Sequoia High School carryover really is we talked extensively in the budget hearings about the continued request for more and more tribal discretionary funding for the Sequoia High School activities, whether it's summer activities or band activities or whatever, all kinds of activities, and they're all coming out of the discretionary fund. And then after that happens, oh, we got $4 million of spent fund that's federal dollars. So here we're carrying over federal dollars when those dollars, more than likely, some of them could have been used for the request that was put into the budget hearings in Gen Fund.
Ms. Gay?
Would it help if I bring you a report to the next meeting, which will show by group the funding source, preliminary 2008 actual versus 2008 budget? Then you would be able to see by funding source that health spent, they budgeted 50 million of IHS and they spent whatever the number is, and they budgeted 5 million of Gen Fund and they spent whatever the number is. I can bring that to the next meeting.
Okay. Continue, Doug.
Nahasda Fund, $172,000 related to the 2004 new construction dollars. Try to run those out and wrap up that Indian housing plan. And lastly, the Swain Courthouse, $128,000 spending authority for the Brownsfield grant, of which $104,000 is the grant and the $20,000 is the matching funds I talked about in Gen Fund. There's no technical issues other than the comments I've already made, and those aren't really technical errors, so.
I'd entertain a motion for the approval of the budget bond.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Watts?
She moved. I think she moved for approval.
Yes.
Is it okay if we add the item that passed earlier that was reduced down to $10,000 and add it to this budget bond?
Is that everyone's approval? Okay. Okay.
Call for question.
Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Actually, announcements. Mr. Tilley, do you have something for us?
I do.
I saw you come in.
I made a point. Yeah, I had meant to bring this earlier. This is the catalog, and I am very proud of the big work exhibit and the work that Michael Gantz and Martha Berry have done on this. Put together this catalog to talk about what it means. So I want to pass this forward.
And our next meeting will be, we appreciate it. Thanks very much. It'll be November 20th. Any other announcements?
How early is the meetings in December? Because some of us are going to Las Vegas.
Tuesday the 16th at 9 and 10, and then we have a Christmas open house from 11 to 3 on Tuesday.
15th and 16th.
Right, that Monday and Tuesday. And you're done for the rest of the month.
Okay. Entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Have a second? All in favor say aye.
I'm on one side of